at Bucketlist Rewards, and I'll be your host for the session today. So nice seeing all of you, and I always love hearing from the folks here in the comment section, so please don't be shy. I would love to hear your thoughts. It's always a good time and super fun hearing from you all. So today's topic, investing in talent, driving employee growth through upskilling and recognition. We do have the perfect panelists today to dive into this topic with, and I'm really excited to pick all three of your brains, and metaphorically, of course. And I definitely invite all the folks in the comments to ask questions and share thoughts as well. So today's event is brought to you by Bucketlist. We're the #1 employee rewards and recognition platform. And we're here today with our friends from Absorb. They are an industry-leading LMS platform engineered to inspire learning and fuel business productivity. They're super passionate about empowering, captivating learning experiences that really just engages people, fuels that content retention, and elevates training programs overall. And I'll let y'all speak more to what you do throughout, so I won't give away too much here. A couple of housekeeping items before we start officially. We do have the chat box open, so if you're making a comment that everyone should see, make sure the blue box is selected to everyone. We did also newly turn on the reacts feature, so feel free to give us some hearts, thumbs up, laughing emojis. We just love to see what resonates throughout the session, so that's a super helpful gauge for us. Q&A box is open. Feel free to put your questions in there so it doesn't get lost. We are running a few polls, and when we share the answers, they will be aggregated, so just anonymous. And last but not least, professional development credits, we'll share them up on screen at the end. We'll also email them out. And I saw a question earlier about the slide deck. Yes, that will be shared as well. We'll just send it all out in an email with the session recording a couple days after the event. Awesome. So let's get started. Agenda for today, we'll do a couple of quick intros into the topic, intros to ourselves after this, as well as a quick icebreaker. We'll hop on into the fireside chat, and then we'll wrap everything up with and head on over to the Q&A. Awesome. So just to set the stage for the conversation today, I thought I'd kick things off with this fun stat that I found. 93% of CEOs who introduce upskilling programs, they see an increase in productivity, an improvement in talent acquisition and retention, and just overall a more resilient workforce. So upskilling, it's definitely an important topic. It's something that really impacts the employee journey from day one. And I know this is Absorb's bread and butter, so I'm very excited to hear from both of you, Shauna and Alex, in a few moments here. And I know you all brought some awesome stats and trends to share as well around upskilling and professional development. So I'm very excited for the community to hear all about that as well. And on the bucket list side of things, we really did want to bring the recognition perspective just to give a few ideas on how employee recognition can really support your L&D program. Oh, and I want to give a quick thank you and quick shout out to everyone who submitted a question beforehand or like a topic you want to discuss. That really helped us frame the questions for the fireside. So just really want to thank you in advance for all the content that we'll be sharing today, because it is a very multifaceted topic with lots of challenges to tackle and strategies to discuss. Awesome. So some introductions. I've already introduced myself, so I'll kick it off to Alex. Would you like to introduce yourself and then pick the next panelist to go?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Alex. I am a channel sales executive at Absorb, as you can see by our little A logo. I live in Calgary, as I was just mentioning. I'm not sure if all of you were on. It has finally stopped snowing here in Canada, so I look forward to having a fun-filled summer with all the things I like doing, like hiking, and I just started golfing, so just a few hobbies there. And I've been with Absorb for almost 4 years now. For those of you who don't know what a channel sales executive means, it means I just everything to do with sales around partnerships. So we partner with Bucketlist. It's been fantastic, and we're really excited for today. So I'll pass that along to Shauna.
everyone. Shauna Tucker, I'm VP of Sales Enablement at Absorb. I have the pleasure of working alongside of Alex and leading our channel partnership team. I also have spent a lot of my time leading our solutions engineers, which are the talented technological experts of our product that work alongside our sales teams. And I'm responsible for our buyer's journey and what the experience looks like for anyone that comes to evaluate Absorb. I'm very excited about this topic. It spans across all of my teams. So I'm hoping we can share some great insight today. In my spare time, I have 2 children. Their hobbies are my hobbies. I spend a ton of time on the baseball and softball field with the 2 of them. Teenagers, so I'm having a fun time, becoming a parent of teenagers. That's a whole nother level up of parenting. I'm excited to be here today. So thank you, Dale.
Yeah, great, Shauna, and great to be with you both today. So my name is Dale Lawrence. As Becca mentioned, I'm also from the Bucketlist Rewards team. I've actually been at Bucketlist for 2 years, and I'm the Vice President of Customer Success and Business Services. Before that, I actually was the Chief Operating Officer for a consulting firm that specialized in human performance, customer experience design, and operational excellence. So today, I'm really excited to kind of share a bit about how recognition connects, but also like how it also works within the whole organization, as far as like driving outcomes for the business and for your customers. So hopefully I can give a little bit of perspective on that side. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with everybody today. Back to you, Becca.
Amazing. Thank you all for sharing. And now that you know a bit more about us, we'd love to hear more about you. So would love to kick things off with an icebreaker. Drop it in the comments. What's a skill you want to learn or are currently learning? Doesn't have to be work related, and you can share more than one. Dale, do you have something on your list right now?
It's actually one that I've been striving to work on, and it is professional side is listening more and not automatically telling the answer to something. And this is something that I've been working on for years. And as a former consultant, that was hard because people would hire you to actually bring your perspective, but actually to work with my teams and with customers is like listening more. And so that's something that I've been working with.
Amazing. And I see in the comments, AI from Susan. Yes, that's a very, very, very good thing to be learning right now. We see podcasting, overhand serving, and volleyball. Yes, that's a good one. Active listening, more AI prompting. How about you, Alex? As people are dropping more.
What? Now that someone just said volleyball, I actually joined a volleyball league. My first game is tonight, so we have beach volleyball, and I would also love to practice my overhand serve. I think I've perfected the underhand, and I don't know, beach is going to be a little challenging with the sand. I've never played, so just improving my volleyball skills. So thank you.
Amazing. How about you, Shauna?
Yeah, I'll share a non-work related. I just purchased some property and it came with bee boxes, so I'm trying to learn to be a beekeeper. Yeah.
I thought you said beatboxes. Like you're gonna beatbox.
I can also beatbox while I'm doing the bees.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 45 minutes is Shauna's beatboxing.
Yes.
She should just beatbox the answers.
Beatboxes. You're beatboxing.
Oh man. Oh, and HR strategy, HR metrics, data visualization, and David said he heard beatbox as well. So now you got to learn it, Shauna. Next webinar, we expect to see some beatboxing.
I work on my rap skills.
Oh, Susan, pickleball. I actually really want to learn this one as well. I just don't really know how to get started. Maybe I'll watch some YouTube videos or something. But yeah, keep us posted, Susan. I really want to know. Awesome. So thank you everyone for participating in that. That was so much fun. Now we're heading off into our fireside chat now. So just to make sure the conversation today is really relevant and helpful to you, we'd love to learn a little bit more about what upskilling looks like in your organization today. So this is a 3-part question. The first one, just kind of curious as to what's available right now. The second one, we're curious to hear to what extent people are participating. And then lastly, we'd love to hear about any gaps that you would like to address for your team. I'll let this run for a little bit. But panelists, do you have any guesses as to how the answers may play out, or maybe some trends you've been seeing yourselves?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think cross training has been a big topic, like taking people that you have on your team and making sure that you're empowering them to learn different parts of the business. So cross trainings have been a hot topic.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I see the answers rolling in. So thank you, everybody. And so far, I know you can't see the answers yet, but so far, training programs is in number one for the first question. So let's just do a quick countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, gonna end the poll now and share the results. So it looks like training programs definitely at the top here, which is cool with the cross training. Shauna, it's like you've read all our minds or something. Mentorship and coaching. And then now we're dropping down to what extent people are engaged, which is in the kind of engaged range. Alex, Shauna, Dale, how have you been seeing the engagement from your point of view as well? Could you comment on this perhaps? Or is there any points you want to make in response to these questions?
I think educating, what we're going to be speaking to today in the fireside chat, and just educating organizations and leaders on why it's important to upskill, because it leads to engagement and building that company culture. So hopefully moving that kind of engaged or not engaged to very engaged.
Yeah, that would be great. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for participating. We'll hop on now to our fireside chat. So question number 1, Alex, like you mentioned, why is building a culture of learning so important, and how does it impact the employee experience? And Alex, I would love to kick this one off to you first.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I think that it is, first off, it's a benefit to not only the employee, but also to the organization. And I want to get into that a little bit more today. But for the employee, I think it also, upskilling and reskilling will help the employee not only in their current positions, but it will also open opportunities for advancement, career progression, and it's going to just help them grow overall. So they're going to, when they have these upskilling opportunities available, they are going to feel more confident. It's going to raise their self-esteem, and it's just going to really help them adapt. And I think that adaptability is so important, because we see now more than ever that things are just changing so quickly. Like the world is at an all-time high for just speed, right? Everything is excelling at this like tremendous pace, and we're seeing market trends quickly changing. We're seeing technological advancements, and it's just really important to stay on top of that and to ensure that the workforce feels empowered, again, not only in their current role, but maybe progression within the company, within the organization, and just upskilling in general. Yeah, I think that's a great start, and I'd love to pass that to Shauna to see if she has anything to add to it.
Yeah, I would just add, I think it's super important. I've seen, 25 plus-ish years in the game. I've seen, training programs and learning and development strategies go really well, and I've seen some go really wrong. And I think where they go wrong is when a learning initiative or training programs are pushed out without minimal input from the people they're trying to train. And so where I see and especially now working at Absorb, where our life is training and learning, and that's what we do, live, eat, breathe, sleep, the technology and the conversations of learning. Where I feel like it gets done really well is when, the employees or the people that you're looking to train have a voice in the program, right? And so that it's built and designed around the people you want to do the training. I think when it goes wrong is when it's just trainings that are forced upon people, and it may not even be things that they're interested in or that are relevant, versus getting feedback and building things around topics and programs that directly impact them.
Amazing. So I heard themes of helping people grow, their careers within the company and after it, adaptability, designing the programs to fit the needs of your team to make sure it's super enjoyable. I love that. Dale, is there anything that you
Yeah,
had?
yeah. There's actually two areas that I wouldn't mind kind of touching on. So like the first part is, building that culture. And then the second part is kind of how does it impact the employee? So on the building the culture side of things is that ultimately when we talk about culture, we probably have a number of variables in there, like where our desired outcome of a great culture includes like deeper commitment to learning new skills, growth mindset, improved recruitment and retention, innovation, unlocking like your employees' discretionary effort, things like that. But really to get that outcome, you need to motivate your employees. And then if you want to motivate your employees, you need to do things like have an effective recognition program. It's like one of those simple things that you can do that will unlock a lot of those things. You can't just get to that outcome without having the kind of the building blocks underneath it. And then the second thing I wouldn't mind kind of talking about is, as I mentioned previously, I was in the consulting side of things, and I actually did two major transformations of contact centers. And for those of you who haven't spent a lot of time looking at contact centers, they are an environment that is locked into single skills. Like you essentially have customer needs, the customer gets streamed to a specific skilled employee, and that employee tries to fix your problem. The issue that you will tend to have is that if the problem is bigger than that one skill that can solve it, they have to transfer the customer to another team. And then, as anybody on this meeting has ever gone through queues of contact centers, the idea of getting tossed over the wall at the next person, you got to explain your problem again, the next person tries to solve part of it, is a real challenge. So in the contact centers, it's not built for multi-skilling. The transformations that I was an architect of and helped transform were two really large contact centers, one in telecom and one in hotels. And we multi-skilled agents so they could solve all the problems all at once. And it really broke the contact center environment. We did an employee survey after the transformation was done. And one of the employees in the survey said, if I had to go back to the way it was before, I would quit. And it really shows that unlocking the ability to solve more problems than a single skill can help you with can really change how employees look at even some of the more simple type of roles that they can do in an organization. So that's how it impacts the employee experience, not just at the organizational level, but at the person level.
No, that's amazing, Dale. And Christopher, what you just shared in chat too, I think really ties to that, where a learning culture enables agility, people are feeling engaged and just building capacity all around, and it's making customers happier, and it's making, of course, your whole team happier too. It's awesome. Well, thank you, all three of you, for sharing. Now that we've talked a little bit about why it's so important, how it impacts us, maybe let's move into what strategies can organizations use to build a culture of learning. And Shauna, I'll pick on you first for this question.
Yeah, I think I'm going to double down on, getting the end user, the final product person, right, that's going to consume the training involved. Culture of learning. I mean, Christopher just gave a great example of what's valuable and what's important in a culture of learning, but it can mean something a little different to every organization. Like, to me, training and learning for employees specifically falls into a couple different categories, right? You have your training, your compliance type training, mandatory training that has to be done. That's a requirement by leadership. Everyone has to get it complete and have it done, right? So you have your compliance mandatory type trainings. You have training that's job specific, right? So you have content of training that's very specific to role that helps your employees be very effective in what they need to do in the day-to-day. I think one area, the next area I want to talk about that really has started to take off is training that's directly correlated to what the company has decided their culture is, right? So if we're going all in as an organization and saying diversity, equity, inclusion is important to us, what training programs do we have that are backing that up? If we're going all in as an organization saying safety is our top priority, and with us safe employees, we have happy clients, and we're safe in, you know, in our workspace, and safety becomes the priority of the culture, then what trainings are you incorporating that directly correlate back to what the company has decided is important? I actually just shared a write-up on my LinkedIn that said, I'm gonna share it with y'all, with training on behaviors that embody the desired culture, companies are 5.5 to 7.5 times more likely to become highly performing companies. So I think that third bucket of like, what have you identified as culture? Like we have a very specific culture at Absorb. We have like we call it a no jerks policy, and we have trainings that directly correlate back to how to be kind in the workforce, how to have tough conversations, how to give good feedback. Like everything's centered around that tagline of like no jerks in the workplace, right? So I think that third bucket is super important in an area that sometimes might get overlooked that needs to be a priority. And then 4, where I said I was doubling down, is trainings that your employees want. And sometimes that becomes a little tricky conversation because they might want to train on beatboxing or beekeeping. And you're like, I don't want my employees spending work time training on something. I say that kind of lightheartedly, but maybe they want to cross train. And what they want to train on isn't directly what they're supposed to be doing in their role. We have to empower those people to train on a topic that might be something that they're looking for, you know, for the future. So I would say the 4th bucket is specific training that your employees are asking for. And if you get those key 4 areas right, I think that's a great foundation for a culture of learning.
That's amazing, Shauna. And what I really liked about your 4th point too is that you never know when a skill you learn might actually come in useful at your current job. So just because it doesn't seem particularly related, perhaps, like you just never know when it might actually come into play. And that person's just way more creative with theirs because of the way they're seeing the world with their newfound skills. So I love those 4 pillars that you shared. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alex, could I pass this to you to share your strategies you have in mind?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we all can understand that the whole goal is to ensure that employees are feeling valued, right? Because when employees are feeling that value, they're more committed to their roles, committed to the organization, and then there's just increased productivity and retention there. So doubling down on what Shauna said, really personalizing that content that you're providing, personalizing the experience, really showing the company values and structure within that training. And also understanding that learning isn't a one-size-fits-all. I might be a visual learner and want to watch videos and, you know, really retain information that way. Whereas Rebecca, maybe you need to absorb information by reading it. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're a visual learner. Okay. So vice versa, right? Maybe, like I would retain information by reading an article, and you're the visual learner now. So yeah, you want to like watch a video, for example, right? So having like a structure where you can provide those learning opportunities to everyone in different ways and personalize the learning, and listen to the audience, listen to your employees. What are people asking for? Taking that feedback. We all want to be heard. We all want to be understood, and we want to really engage in experiences and upskilling programs that will pertain to us in our career aspirations or just growth in general. I think a big example of this that we're seeing is gamification in the workplace and in learning. By incorporating, you know, points or badges and leaderboards, it brings more engaged learning to play, and people really want to interact, and it builds that friendly competition. And I think we see it everywhere, not only within like workplace learning, but we're seeing it all the time. Like if you're on Duolingo and you have that streak, or you know, like you want to climb the Peloton board, or the leaderboard if you're doing a challenge. I think we all have that like inner instinct of if it's resonating with us, we just want to do more, right? So if it's in front of us and we can have that self-guided learning, and we're seeing that the organization is really providing us with all of those opportunities and rewarding us, why not? And I think when we go back into gamification a little bit, we're even seeing it with rewards, right? So like rewarding your learners on going above and beyond, seeing who the top talent is and who wants to invest in themselves. It's easy for management to see as well. And I think Dale can speak to that a little bit, because obviously that's what Bucketlist does really well. So pass that along.
Amazing. Well, I'm gonna cut in here, Dale, before you start your spiel. Yeah, show of hands in the comments, who has some form of gamification going on in your programs right now? Just drop me like a yes, a no, or like a maybe, kind of, sort of. Yes, amazing. Kimberly, Michelle, no. All right, keep dropping them in the comments. Dale, I'll let you speak on this, and we'll circle back to our friends in the chat.
I want to ask a question from that. For everyone saying no, do you see like the value and importance of that? Especially, I'd say, like with the younger generations, that instant gratification, the likes, the leaderboards, that competition, everyone being on their phones. Like, if you're saying no, do you think that there is an importance in bringing that in and providing those opportunities?
That is a great question. I'm very keen to hear the answers. All right, I'll let people mull on that a little in the comments. We'll circle back. And Dale, I was gonna say you're muted, but I think you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I was just gonna say that perhaps they just don't have the right gamification. Maybe you need to have beatboxing pickleball. Maybe that's the answer to driving a better strategy. So yeah, basically, the way I kind of look at this is twofold. The first one is if you're trying to find something that's simple that will to build that culture of learning, an effective recognition program is really important for that. It's actually one of the easiest things that you can launch in a company, where the employees will take it over and they will just run with it. And then overall, when you look at what positive reinforcement does, is there's research that shows that reinforcement through rewards encourages continuous learning and skill development, things like that. But also that incentive programs that boost performance, you'll see like a 44% increase in your teams, and that's people will complete their training more when they're recognized for completing it, and they will see it to the end. So it's really important to tie what type of training you're doing to a recognition program. It's super important. We can talk more about that. But other than that, I wanted to also share from a strategy standpoint. I find it's really effective at an organizational level is to align strategies to the endpoint from the customer's lens. Is that when you look at your problems as an organization, think about solving your customer needs and aligning the work that people do to that. And when you do that, you'll find that the ROI will be there. I think we've got some questions around, how do you get ROI, or how do you get buy-in from the organization? When you align your business problems to what the customers need from you, you'll find that things kind of open up a lot better. Your strategy is more connected. And that you'll find that your C-suite or your leadership will jump on board. Something that we did in my team is we brought in a customer promise, and the customer promise was designed by my team and essentially permeates into everything that the team does on a daily basis. And we will actually see that in how our processes are connected, feedback from our customers, and how employees will actually work to satisfy those customer promise tasks overall. So that's something that I think is really important, is aligning it to your customer.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. I'm just reading the comments in the chat right now about the gamification, and people are saying they've tried it or they've never tried it. Christopher saying that gamification drives competition, motivation, collaboration, leads to engagement. 100% agree. And I really like Michelle's comment that there is value, but C-suite isn't interested. I'm just gonna hop on to the next slide here, because that's a great segue into our next question. So thank you, Michelle, for that flawless transition. All right, next question here. How can we get leadership buy-in to invest in a culture of learning? What are some cost justification strategies? How are companies measuring ROI? And Shauna, I will pass this one to you first.
Of course, this is the money question, right? Is is how do we get, we want to build a culture of learning, but how do we get executive team, leadership team involved? I think anytime you're trying to launch an initiative or revamp an initiative or make an initiative a priority, it all comes down to being able to build the business case and cost justification, right? So you have to have a business case around cost justification. To me, when it comes to learning, it falls into a couple of these categories. The first one is the cost of turnover, right? If you can directly correlate hard dollars to a learning and training program, lowering your cost of turnover, every executive wants to hear about that because turnover costs money, right? So a quick stat in 2023, so just last year, the average voluntary turnover rate, people quitting their jobs, was 17.8% compared to 4.8% of people being fired. So people leaving on their own accord, voluntarily leaving, significantly higher than people that were being terminated. So if you can come to your executive team and have data and stats to say, we launched a new program, here's our ideas of launching a program, we launched a program, down 3 percentage points, right? Which correlates to the cost of turnover is typically, I think, double to 3 times the cost of their annual salary. You can back into those numbers and get a directionally accurate spend that you're able to save the organization. So I think if you could directly correlate to lowering the cost of turnover is one. The next one I would say is reduction in onboarding time. So if you can track and show that you are onboarding new hires faster, you're getting them trained in their roles sooner and on the job as quickly as possible. On the job to a leader or executive team correlates to making the company money, right? They're on the job faster, they're making the company sooner. I think that's a key area that's hard dollar that you can really drive into. The next one I would say is higher completion rates of compliance training. So compliance training was one of the ones I mentioned before. Extremely important, mandated for the organization, and compliance trainings directly connect to certifications that have to be done on a certain time. Are there's penalties? There's hard dollar penalties for not having it done. HR type compliance training, safety trainings, like I mentioned, all of those compliance types trainings have to typically be done by a certain time and or there's penalties for that. So that's another hard dollar connection that you could make to say, hey, with the right compliance trainings in a technology that works for us, we're able to be more compliant, saving us penalties. So that's a hard dollar area to look into. I'd say the next one is increased sales. If you have the right training technology with the right training content, and you can deploy and upskill and sales enable your sales teams, the better they are at selling the product, which is directly correlated to revenue. Then I would say the revenue impact to your customer support side of the business. So if I think of Absorb and the way that we train our client support teams and our account managers that maintain our clients, Dell just said that, like the importance of making sure that you're giving your clients the best experience in retaining clients, that directly correlates back to how you train that team to do their job to service the customer. Again, hard dollar revenue that every sales team and executive cares about. I hope, right? And then I think the last thing I would say would be having the technology and the processes in place for reporting that directly correlates back to those areas because there's significant time savings. That's a little more soft, right? That's probably a little more soft cost, but there's significant time savings for the teams that deploys the learning program and the leaders if you have the reporting with the right data to show how all of this is happening for the organization.
I love these examples of like tangible, hard numbers. People can kind of go digging for a shot. It's super valuable. I took a couple notes. I'll drop in the chat. Maybe people can take it, copy it away, take it, think about it next time they gotta write up a report or something. But thank you so much, Shauna. Alex, was there anything you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I would just double down and say to, educate them. And I don't mean you educating them, but, when you're going in and you're exploring new platforms and taking a look to see like which platforms can assist with upskilling and reskilling and, you know, helping with that workforce and building that culture, ask those questions, right? Like if you are in HR, you might be wanting something out of a system that's completely different than the CFO, right? So it's our jobs as, you know, either leaders or say I'm in sales, I'm in partnership sales. So when I'm on these calls, it's our jobs to educate you. When we just launched like our upskilling tool and when we were having our own internal training, it was shocking to me to know that 47% of customers cited upskilling as a challenge. I didn't realize and recognize that it was, you know, that big of a challenge across the board. And it was the #1 challenge that we're seeing with enterprise organizations. So like Shauna said, you know, there was all those stats about increasing sales and revenue, reducing onboarding time, increasing compliance completion, right? And those rates and avoiding those fines. Those ROI, like when we can educate you and you can bring that to the C-suite and really show the leaders why it's important to have this buy-in, not just to save, you know, time with manual work or whatever it may be, why you want to buy in, but really seeing that bigger picture and understanding that different departments and different levels are going to need certain programs and platforms for different reasons.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex. Dale, I will pass this question to you as well. I think I have a follow-up question for Shauna, but I'll ask her after. I'm not sure about the timing.
No, that's great. And you know, I was just reading Simone's message that you know, getting people to get involved is like pulling teeth. And unfortunately for Simone, she works for the only company that has this problem. Everybody has this problem. Like this is a very common question, is how do I get people involved, especially when you may not have the budget yourself. Like, how do I get people to buy into an initiative and kind of get that ROI? So yes, absolutely. Connecting it to the customer is a great strategy. Connecting it to the actual stats about recruitment and retention and things like that is really important. I mentioned earlier around the contact center transformation, and that was actually a very common thing. It's like, how do we get that return on investment? How do we figure it out? And because we approached it from the customer's lens, then that transformed the contact center, got everybody to buy in, because that ultimately is what they wanted. That was what was motivating them. And the outcome of the contact center transformation, where we made people, we up multi-skilled people in the contact center so they could solve the customer's needs, it actually related to a 40% reduction in cost to serve per customer. That was a significant change, because at that point there was an army of people working in the contact centers, and essentially we proved that it actually impacted the customers less. It actually took less time to solve the customer's needs, and the customer likelihood to recommend increased dramatically, and also the employee like net promoter scores also increased. Another example of return on investment, and sometimes it kind of surprises you on an innovation level, is Google encourages their engineers to go and learn skills in other departments. The actual interesting outcome of that was Gmail and Google Maps, two things that probably weren't in the intention of encouraging their engineers to go get multi-skilled in other areas. And that is a great example of an organization that innovated and came up with new things. A third example I want to share is McDonald's has a hamburger university. For those of you who live in Chicago or have ever kind of come across it, it's a campus. It's like a college campus that basically McDonald's uses to train up leaders. And they have actually found that leaders who have gone through the McDonald's hamburger university, they actually can see that operational efficiency improves in the restaurants that they work in, customer satisfaction's better, sales growth is there. And so it's huge kind of change, and they can actually quantify that in their organization. Kind of a fun fact is there is a hotel on the grounds of that campus, and I just happened to be coming back from Chicago and needed a hotel on the way to the airport and stayed there. It used to be run by McDonald's, and so they actually they got a whole bunch of artists to create clown themed paintings. And if you ever stay, it's run by Hyatt now, but they for some reason decided to keep the creepy clown pictures everywhere. You literally wake up in your room and see like a scary looking clown on your wall of your room, and they're all the way through. But yeah, if you're ever looking for a good place, if you've got a clown fear, that's a place to go to. And the last thing, and this is kind of something as a takeaway, and this is a good kind of message to share with your maybe stakeholders that are resisting change or resisting kind of the buy-in for things like this. There are two areas that investing in the culture of learning doesn't necessarily instantly translate into ROI. The first one is employee safety. Is if you have an injury in your workplace, you can't say that, well, everything we just invested in safety this year is a failure. Is that it takes a lot of constant reminders and feedback and training and things like that to actually to make your environment safer, but it doesn't guarantee that you will never have an incident in there. But if you don't invest in anything in there, you will definitely have more incidents of safety. The second one is something that we all lived through with COVID, is every single organization that you all work for, and ones that you maybe customers or vendors or things like that, we all went through a shared experience of adapting to something that we didn't prepare for. And the organizations that did better had employees who had resilience to change and had skills that you never thought of. All of a sudden you had to like panic and figure out, how do we keep people engaged? How do we keep productivity going? How do we keep our customers in contact with our teams? How do we keep people safe? And these are all things that you can share with your leadership that really you didn't anticipate, but your ability to build your organization's capabilities really paid off. And the fact that you're still there meant your organization was able to leverage kind of the untapped talent of people.
Thanks, Dale, for the examples. Just look at the comments here. Shauna, I think we want to address Michelle's question. So
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Yeah, Michelle, and then I saw Maria Elena chime in as well. Like, let's get real, right? Like, that's like the most real statement. I would say first, what a fabulous place to start. If that is the culture you're in right now at your organization, to say, hey, let's make a shift. Let's make a cultural changing shift to stop that belief. And I'm going to give you a real life situation. I lead a team. I told you I lead a team of solutions engineers. Last year, we had our engagement survey. Engagement survey came back that they wanted more training and upskilling and more technical topics. So after the engagement survey, I started digging in one-on-ones with the team. Like, what do you mean by more technical topics? And it was technical certifications that do not apply necessarily to what they do for me on my team at Absorb. I'm not kidding. My first reaction in my mind was, heck no, I'm not spending money to help you get trained on something that's not for your job. I think that's a very real situation and a reaction. I took a step back and like really like check myself. I something and what in encouraging their learning is all about, and having engaged employees is all about, is fostering what they care about. So I invested a little more money in some additional technology trainings. Not one person is left. 2 people then transitioned to more product-driven roles within the organization, which they were much better fits for. But I had turnover. We've had no turnover. So if the worst case scenario is maybe I lose one person, it probably might have been a person that wasn't a great fit anyway, but I'm empowering the person to move within the organization and go make our company better in a different part. I think that's a win. Right? So I think that that's a great place to say, within my company, how do I get us to not being fearful of upskilling our people if they want to train on something that's not directly correlated to their job? Let's think about it more as, how do I empower them and keep them engaged while they are here, and help them train and be who they want to be within their position. So very real statement, Michelle.
I love that, Shauna. Makes me very happy to hear that. And I think it's a really great transition too to our last question about how we can get leaders to encourage their teams to prioritize professional development. I know you just shared one great way, Shauna, where just, fostering what it is that they care about so that they're really willing to do it because they're interested. I'll toss this one to you first, Dale. And I did want to note to the panelists, we have like roughly 5 minutes left for this question. So we'll get a move on. So Dale, you can go first.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks, Becca. This is a great topic. It's like, how do we get our leaders to encourage the teams, or how do we get professional development forefront? The first thing that I would share is encouraging your leaders to walk the walk, to lead by example. We do a recognition program assessment with clients, and I remember this great quote from one of the leaders is, I really started my role wanting to recognize people. I recognized lots of people in the first few weeks, and then I got busy. That's actually a very common thing that leaders will say, is that I'm just too busy to do X. And I think it's really important that if the leaders are not leading by example, then you will have more challenges. And so it's important that they're also looking after themselves, and they're working on their own professional development. We've got some kind of features that on our platform that actually help this. One of them is called achievements, and it allows organizations to set up personal achievements or self-achievements that they can actually claim an award. And this is something that has really helped kind of drive more professional development with organizations, because you can actually set up your own achievements, and then teams can actually set up things that actually mean something to their employee groups, and then they can self-claim that achievement when they accomplish it. A couple of new features that are on the way is align and journey, and these are really things around scaling the organization around the functional groups that work in your teams. Some companies have finance teams, some companies have contact centers, some companies have supply chain employees. They all have different needs from their personal development. It's important that you customize things for their groups, because a finance person's personal career journey is going to be different than somebody in marketing. And I think it's important to kind of scale those things and make it real to them, because it'll actually drive more engagement overall, and actually will make it something that they want to do on a daily basis. Pass back to you, Becca.
Thanks, Dale. Being a marketing person, the way you just touched on that made me feel really resonated with me. Shauna, would you like to go next?
Yeah, just for sake of time, I typed mine in the chat. I agree with Dale, and I would just say mid-level management is the key to professional development. Like, you can get your executive level, like your executive leaders, like, okay, yeah, we're sure, Shauna, we think it's a great idea. Go ahead and run with it. Here's some money, here's your budget, go for it. But if you don't get that mid-level management involved, upskill them, make them great, then they'll turn around and do the same thing for their teams.
Love it. I want to, Alex, before I pass it on to you, I want to kind of take this question as slightly adding on to the question, how can, flexibility or doing the upskilling, how can you make upskilling opportunities more inclusive and accessible so that people do feel really encouraged to take part?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for the inclusivity portion of that, it's really important to make everyone feel like the content can resonate with them, right? So incorporating certain case studies, stories, examples, that's going to resonate with employees from different demographic backgrounds, just different stages of life, like whatever it may be, understanding your audience and making sure that that's inclusive for everyone. Something to kind of add to that too is something that's important is open dialogue and making that learning engaging and social, right? So this is a great example of that. Like, everyone's been so active in the chat. We're having those polls and surveys. Really like ensuring that this content is resonating with everyone, and that people are feeling comfortable to share their experiences and ask questions. And when you have that open dialogue, and it's not just about how you learn or what you take from something, but encouraging that feedback, I think it's so important to include everyone in that, so that they're feeling comfortable to share their experiences and ask the appropriate questions, so that they can feel successful in that training. And I think lastly, just ensuring that all of the content is just accessible, right? So all of the learning materials that are being provided, there's the assistive technology, maybe screen readers or closed captioning. Again, just understanding the audience and making sure that everyone feels included.
I love that. Soliciting feedback is always just so important, no matter what program it is you're trying to run, just because, now different backgrounds, of course, different models of work. Some people are remote, some people are in person, some people have families and kids, so they have a different schedule. So it's just so important to allow for that personalization and flexibility, so that people do really feel motivated and that they're able to take part and it's accessible to everybody. So it's a great point. Thank you, Alex. And I love Michelle's comment that I do heart my hashtag #ART5. Amazing. Cool. Well, panelists, you did a really good job of fitting all that into 5 minutes. So thank you. We'll go off now into the wrap-up portion of this before we get into the Q&A. I'm just going to go around the panelist circle and ask all of you, what is the biggest takeaway that you have coming out of this today? And Alex, I'll start with you, and folks in the chat would love to hear what you thought too was the biggest takeaway. So drop them in. And Alex, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, I think we covered so much today. It's kind of hard to pick one, but I would say understanding that bringing that learning culture in is not only essential for the organization, but for the employees as well. And when you're giving back and showing your learners, your employees, that you really care, that's going to increase retention and productivity, and there is a return on investment on that. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Amazing. Shauna?
I think I'm walking away, like my thoughts are like, look, it's not an easy topic. Every organization has the same questions and concerns. Obviously, there's organizations out there that are getting it right and doing it well. So I think Michelle said, like, hey, I'm glad I'm not alone. Like, you're not alone. This is a hot topic. So I think that it's something that all organizations are really digging into. But I will say that skills, upskill, and skilling has to be directly correlated to your employees' self-assessment of where they are, where they want to go, and how are they going to get there. So you've got to find a way to assess your individual employees or teams of employees, figure out where they stand, what training means to them, what's important, and where do they want to go with training individually going forward is a huge pillar to getting this thing right. I put it in the chat too. I think leader involvement, like leadership involvement, again, executive team. Okay, I can build an ROI. I gave y'all some hard dollars that you can correlate back. But if you get, I'm gonna say it again, you get that middle market leadership team bought into why training is important to them, why upskilling is important to them, they'll turn around and do the same things to their teams, for their teams.
Amazing. And before I pass it to you, Dale, I love Mwanji Joseph's comment here that the takeaway is everyone has a role to play in driving organization culture. That is 100%. A great takeaway.
Yeah, I love that.
Dale, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. Kind of my takeaway is there were a number of comments in the chat around getting buy-in, like from different roles in the organization. And I think this is a very common thing that we all have problems with, is like, how do I get everybody in? My best advice is put yourself in the shoes of the different stakeholders and try to figure out what motivates them. If it's a sales leader, it's going to be driving increased sales. If it's a customer experience leader, it's going to be keeping the customers. If it's a finance one, it's going to be the bottom line. If it's going to be a C-suite, you're probably going to be looking at more of a high level kind of holistic view of things. So just make sure that you kind of think that way when you're going into it, and you'll find that the buy-in will happen a lot easier when you prepare yourself that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will run a poll really quickly. I know we are a little pressed for time here. I want to make sure we get to at least one Q&A, but we always are looking to improve these events. And so I just love to gather some feedback from all of you on how it went today. And if you have any other comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I do read them all, and I really appreciate all the words that you'll leave. So thank you in advance. Awesome. And as people are going on to answer that, I'll go really quickly into this and just share a little bit more about Bucketlist and what it is we do. We're an employee rewards and recognition platform, super customizable with a really fun marketplace. Our mission is really just to help companies build the best cultures, boost morale, increase productivity, and retain great talent. So if you're looking for ways to increase employee engagement and support your other initiatives through recognition, we'd be more than happy to chat and share more stories and use cases that we've seen. And I'll just throw up a quick poll here. If you'd like to learn more about Bucketlist, feel free to hit yes. And then same for Absorb. I'll let Alex and Shauna speak more to that.
Alex?
Yeah, so I thought you were going. Yes, so we are an LMS platform. We are an industry leader, global company, and we really want to elevate that learning experience for all of your employees. So we talked about a few things today, like gamification, employee engagement. We can help assist with all of that. So compliance training, anything you need. If you're interested in learning more and how we can help with, enhancing that modern learning experience for all of your learners, really customizing that, personalizing and tailoring it to individual or departmental needs, we are more than happy to chat. And I think on the next slide here, it has both of the QR codes. So you can scan in if there's a conversation that you want to have. We would be so happy to provide more information and to share how our platform can assist.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Before we get to the Q&A with the 2 QR codes you noted there, I'll just share the professional development credits up on screen real quick. We have the HRCI and the SHRM ones. I'll pop in the chat so it's easy for you to take it and redeem them. And I know we're almost right at time, so I think we have time for one Q&A question. I'd love to get to one of Andrew's. He posted them in the Q&A. I'm just gonna take a quick read here. Let's take the one about the skills gap. I think it really relates to the stuff we were talking about prior. So I think that would be a good full circle moment. So the question is, once the skills gap is determined through a survey or you've solicited your feedback, how do you recommend addressing those needs and making sure people feel heard with the answers they've given? Is there a panelist who would like to take a crack at this one first?
I'd probably lean it towards the Absorb team. What do you have for that?
Rebecca, can you repeat it? Sorry, I was reading the chat.
No, all good. I'll post this one in the chat as well. Once the skills gap is determined, like Alex mentioned, it's really important to do surveys, solicit some feedback. So once you have that, how would you recommend addressing the feedback that you've gotten about your upskilling or your skills gap?
Your other methods, how do you recommend addressing those? I think that it's important. I think stakeholder involvement is important, right? So you've got the feedback, you understand where you stand. So like I'd like to follow the see it, own it, solve it, do it method, right? So like we see it, we've got the feedback. Okay, we see it. Now let's own it. Who needs to own it? Who's responsible for owning it? See it, own it, solve it. Let's strategize on ways that we're going to solve it. How, what's the plan that we're going to put in place, and then do it. See it, solve it, see it, own it, solve it, and then go do it. And I think that really just centers around getting all the right stakeholders in place on how to deploy it.
Thanks, Shauna. Alex or Dale, is there anything you'd like to add on with our last minute here?
I think that was awesome.
Yeah, and I think again, just like personalizing that experience and being able to provide those different options. So when you solicit that feedback and you hear it, just actually implementing that and like having that communication with the teams or the individuals who were able to provide that information, ensuring that they feel heard, that they're, you know, even just Rebecca, as an example, what you did today, you asked everyone to submit their topics and questions and you addressed that on the screen and said, we're listening. Like, this is how we're moving forward. Just doing similar, easy, everyday things that you can do with your teams, like just showing them that you care.
Thanks, Alex. Well, that's a nice way to wrap everything up here. I just want to thank everyone again for their time today. Thank you to the community who came and took part in the session. Thank you so much to the panelists, all three of you. Such great gold nuggets. I'm sure everyone had something to take away. So is there anything to add from either, like, the three of you?
I was just gonna, Becca posted our LinkedIn, you know, like we've referenced different articles that we write and things like that on LinkedIn. Please link to us and connect with us. And if you need to ask us any more questions, you know, I'm sure Alex and Shauna would agree that, you know, we're open for any conversations.
Yeah, and if you're curious about how Shauna's beatboxing journey is going to go, you can ask her there. Awesome. Well, thank you all again for coming. We'll see you at a future event and have a great rest of your day.